Well, hi, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to talk to Stephen Kuhn. Here's the deal. We are going to talk about the City of London. I heard him talk about this in several ways, and I listened to him on several different shows that he has done. I am excited for you guys to listen to him, but we're going to share with you different things. On Thursday night, we have our Telegram Q&A where we talk about current events and the Fed, audience questions. Excuse me. And we have a chat room. We are going to try to get it into a voice chat here soon enough. We're going to be doing some fun things with that. I also have the free resources page. You can go to contact@drscottyoung.com, where I'm trying to answer all the questions. My wife is having some eye surgery, trying to get some stuff done, especially next week with that too. And for a lot of you guys, you're asking about this. There's gold and silver solutions that we have with veritymetals.com/Dr. Scott. If you want to have precious metals, there's gold and silver coins, precious metals. That's just one idea. There's a lot of people utilizing that with that stuff too. Okay. Do me one other favor too. Real big issue. Please like and subscribe. I got to tell you, there's so many people that don't subscribe. It's funny to watch it because it's really big, and it's really big for my guest when he comes on here, because this is huge for both of us with that too. So Stephen, hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Thanks so much.
So I want to I'm going to leave that up on the screen because, it's just as important.
Just show you just real quick. I only see a black screen.
Oh, you don't see me?
Nope. I see a black screen. I don't see me either.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened with that too. Well, how about now?
Now we go. There we go.
Okay. Sorry. Maybe something just kind of happened when I did that. Do you see anything now, or did it kind of jump
black,
off? Okay.
Black screen.
Well, that's probably that little thing in the background with that too.
Okay.
So it's probably your Safari with that. That's kind of messing up with that stuff too. Okay. So we'll take that puppy off. That's probably some of that stuff we were talking about originally with that. Okay. So, I'd love you kind of talk a little bit about yourself and see what's been happening with that too. Because you and I were talking earlier about, our stories. I mean, yours very dissimilar to mine, but some of when you've been breaking through on, the social media kind of thing, it's been kind of a little bit similar with that stuff too. Can you talk a little bit about, your circumstance?
My circumstance right now?
Yeah, I mean, especially, know more about your history, because people need to know who you are, because I think that's more fascinating.
Sure. Okay. So, I joined the Army when I was in high school, and I left immediately, went to Fort Knox, and then I got stationed in Germany, where I was until 1990, when I went to Iraq for the Gulf War. Went to the Gulf War and experienced things that no one should experience. I'll just leave it at that. But walked away with a Bronze Star, and an experience that made me know that I never wanted to do that again. So, I left the military shortly after, but I stayed in Germany, where I was stationed, and I never went home from there. I out-processed in Germany, ended up opening up multiple businesses. I think almost 20 in total over the next 20 years or so. And then in 2003 also. That was in 1993 when I got out. 2003, 10 years later, I still had the businesses. I started in politics in Germany. I co-founded the Civil Coalition of Germany, which became Germany and then Europe's largest non-party political organization, and which then we flipped into the AfD, which is now the leading, most popular party in Germany. And my co-founder is the vice chair of the party, so basically the head of the party. And in between those times, I was advising, consulting, helping, restructuring parliaments in the European Union, helping with some politicians, some representatives, a few world leaders, royals, things like that. Just helping them sort of look at the big picture, because most of these people, they're in their cosmos and they can't see outside of it. And I just have this knack for thinking really simple. Keep it short and simple, or keep it stupid and short and simple is what I like to say. And I was just very fortunate to have worked with people like all these world leaders and parliaments, and Olivia Newton-John and Andrea Bocelli, Mick Jagger. Like, it's a lot of really interesting people. And again, along the way, I was always doing favors for people, helping people out, and doing these things. And since 2003, when I first got into politics, I've never taken one dime of money for any of my work in politics, because then you become an operative. And I never wanted to be that. So recently, my wife's Ukrainian, and recently when the war broke out, and about a year later or two, when they started escalating, getting foreign people involved, foreign governments involved, I made a video. I said, "What the heck's going on?" Alex Jones shared it, Jimmy Dore shared it, got like 50 million views, and I didn't do anything with it. A month later, I did another video. Hey, part 2, explained how we brought the family of my wife from Ukraine to Turkey, right here where I am right now, to save them from the war. That went viral as well. Same thing. Alex Jones shared it, the whole works. And I said, let me do a video a day. Seems like people are interested in this. So I started doing first it was Ukraine, then it was European Union, then it was the things that I knew. Then it was things that happened to me, like being approached to be a U.S. senator, being approached by the CIA, being approached by Opus Dei, all these things in Europe. And it just started gaining more and more traction. And then, people said, come back and run for president. I was like, what? And I said, no, I want to do something better. I want to empower the citizens of America to take America back from the politicians and career bureaucrats. And so I started Join TAB.
And this was what time frame when you're talking about this?
Year and a half ago. Year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And within 6 months, I had 500 million views, a million followers. I started the organization with a website, basically. And now we have a website. We have a doctrine of 7 books. We have a certification that you can get as a citizen servant leader. And we teach you how to get into local seats of government and hold those seats. On the website, on the upper right, we have Find Your Seat. You click on it, it drops down, you put in your zip code, and it shows you the vacant seats, because in America, there's 500,000 local government seats in 90,000 local governments. Of those 500,000, about 60 to 65% of them run uncontested, meaning one person shows up.
Right. So isn't it fascinating that there's like almost no, I mean, I see it all the time. You're like, what?
Yeah. Not to mention this will blow your mind. Not this one, but 100,000 precinct seats are empty. Precinct seats are the highest political position in your voter district. They're the ones who decide who gets on the ballot, who gets the money, that kind of stuff for the different parties. About 100,000 of them are vacant out of 700,000. Then 32 states allow you to be a judge without a law degree or a college degree.
Wait, isn't that the type of? I mean, isn't that the same one that did that Irina case in North Carolina, that she wasn't even a judge and she let that idiot go?
Yeah,
for the most part.
Well, that's who they're bringing in. That's because the activists. So look, what I'm telling you right now is not new news. It's just that most of the activists know this because they're being trained on it. And we, citizens, we don't know this. And that's why I'm out there on the battleground every single day talking about, we got, easy. We got 300,000 seats we can fill. Just let me give you a simple math solution for everything we're talking about. 3,144 counties in America. We take 10 seats in each county for someone who's TAB certified, Take America Back certified through the Citizen Servant Leader course. That's almost 32,000 people across America, and we can take America back. Why? Because the city council and the county commission are the most powerful government agencies, forces, groups, whatever you want to call them, in America. We can change taxes, we can change laws, we can change the whole works. Not laws, but local ordinance. Right. And we can lower medical costs, or medical insurance costs at the county level. People don't even know this. Okay. City council chairmen don't even know this. They don't want you to know this. Remember, we are the republic. The people, for the people, by the people is no joke. It isn't just some nice saying that sounds cool. We literally are the republic. And we, at the local level, can run this entire republic. And the only way that they up there can do all the corruption and all this kind of stuff is if we allow it down here. Mm-hmm. So the real problem isn't, oh, look at this, look at Trump, look at Biden, look at that. That's not the real problem. The real problem is the enablers below. And those enablers are burdened with what? Debt. So if you're in debt and you're a pencil pusher or a button pusher, and they tell you to push that button to sign that check for $300 million, you're probably going to do it, or you might lose your livelihood, your job, your ability to pay for your car, your mortgage, or whatever. So that's the biggest problem, is that apparatus between them and us. That's the biggest problem, and no one's looking at that. So we need to take those seats back. We need to take them from the activists, or take them before the activists do. Fortunate enough, most activists operate in larger cities, right? But a lot of the leverage happens outside of the larger city. Look at Texas. Texas wins because of the rural voting, not because of the urban voting, right? So, and if they even vote, Texas doesn't have a red or blue problem. They got a people don't vote problem. They have a lot of people registered. They just don't vote. And as Texas does, America does. As Texas goes, America goes.
Right.
And so I'm out there fighting every day, helping people, teaching them one-on-ones. I mean, the whole works. We have a community that we started for anyone who's taken the Citizen Servant Leader course, which is a 60-hour university level course. And when you're done with that, my friend, you can walk into any room, including the White House, the Oval Office, and hold your own. And I mean, like nobody you've seen. There's a gentleman who's a professor at a military academy, and he took the first 3 modules of the 6 modules, and he said he's never seen anything like it. He's never seen it. He said it's the most comprehensive civil servant leadership course that he's ever seen, because it isn't about local government. It's about you being the voice of local government. How do you hold yourself? The 4 C's: calm, cool, collected, and cordial. Because when you lose your cool at a city council meeting, you're irrelevant. They just brush you off. When you're standing there holding your own, stating facts, calm, cool, and collected, they have to listen to you because it becomes public record. And it's just, these are the things that we're teaching, and it's working. We've placed over 60 people in the last 4 months, in helped place. I don't want to say we placed them. We helped them get 2 seats in local government. Over 60 people in the last 4 months. So it's incredibly empowering for citizens to stand there and go, man, I can go to the website, put in my zip code, find a seat, apply for that seat, and in the meantime, let me take the course, read the books, then I'm ready to go. And if you get in, if you apply for a seat, you gotta let me know. And if you win that seat, you gotta let me know. And I have 2 books that I do not sell, that are only for people that apply for and take the seats. And it's literally a 90-day plan. What do you do every day for 90 days? How do you get through this? How do you get through the mobbing? How do you get through them ostracizing you? How do you get through them voting when you're not there? All of these tricks that they try to play to make you irrelevant and get you frustrated. I go through all of this stuff in these books for anybody who wants to get involved. And it's proving to be an incredible machine. And what we're doing is we're building a parallel infrastructure of accountability, because anyone who's certified will come on a roster. Right. So you can go online and look at that roster, see if they're certified. So if there's a Republican, Democrat, or independent, doesn't matter, and they're tab certified, you can find them there. And the cool thing about it is, you as a citizen can take the course and read the book, the same courses, and you know exactly what they're governing, what their governing principles are: honesty, integrity, transparency, moral courage, and accountability. And so that's what we're building. And in the next 2 months, we're coming out with a debit card. The first debit card, where you actually get interest on the money that's on that card, up to 3%, where you get points for miles, where you get gas money back on your gas tank, where you can have Tab Wireless, Tab Mobile, and Tab Telehealth cheaper than you can get it from Verizon or whoever it is. And it's the same carrier, by the way, just so we get it wholesale and sell it cheaper than they do retail. This is another way of creating a parallel infrastructure of financial freedom, because if you have a debit card, you can't go into debt, number one. Number two, every spend on that debit card, we give back to the community. So if there's a part of the fees, the transaction fees that the merchant pays to the bank, we get from the bank and we give it back to the local community. So let's say Fort Worth, Texas, which is our pilot city, they have 10,000 cardholders. We give $1 a month per card. That's $120,000 a year that we give back to the community, not to the government, to the community. And say, here, what do you want to do with this? And if it's an approved project, like a playground for kids, that's what we're going to do. This is how we're creating a parallel structure. And if you look at any revolution, revolutions always win, not by attacking head on, but by building parallel infrastructures. Because then they become the standard and impossible to ignore. And that's what we're doing.
Well, I mean, there's a group in Oklahoma that I've been involved with. It's the Oklahoma Doge Committee. And the first time I walked into a Doge group in the Oklahoma State House, all of the state senators kind of looked over the little railing, and they were standing there looking at us like going, crap, you guys are like, I mean, they were scared.
Yeah.
That they were freaking out, and we were just sitting there listening to. I mean, and it was probably like I'm blanking out the number, a couple 300 of us, right?
Let me give you the analogy why that's like that. Because you can get mad and arrest one or two or three loud people, but 300 people sitting there listening quietly and intently and focused, that's scary. Because look at what happened in Berlin when the wall was up, right? 7 people met in a church. A year later, it was 300,000. And they said, hey, let's just walk across the border. They can't shoot us all. The
Yep.
guards stood down. What are you going to do with 300,000 people? You can't arrest them. You can't shoot them. What are you going
Right.
to do? All right. And it was over 40
Eclipsed.
years, 40 years over, gone.
Yeah, and it was fascinating to watch this, and the Oklahoma Doge people actually talk nearly the same kind of conversation you do. I mean, they talk about empowering people, like just maybe 5 to 7 hours going into these meetings, and they try to, I mean, into these meetings, these people sit in there, and I'm going to just say, they bring in, they just write down whatever they hear, and the morons up front can't even pass any little idiot legislation because that person's just sitting there listening to them. And you're like, what? Like it's so hysterical that here's what it is. And I kind of use a biblical statement. I mean, the demons can't do anything because the people of God are walking in amongst them.
Yeah.
And
And that's what it's presence. It's pure presence. Matter of
right.
fact, I should introduce you to Maria Zach. Maria Zach is the architect of Doge.
Yeah.
She's amazing, amazing woman. She's a fighter. Like if you ever seen, she was in the White House last week. Like
Right.
she's just a regular woman from Florida, just some
Yeah, and
regular
and
housewife.
that kind of stuff, and that's one of the things that happens with these patriot podcasters that happen with. I mean, you and I, Stephen, we're no one. I mean, we literally, you and I were talking about this beforehand. We're just
Yeah,
like no one. I mean, and I gotta say, people, sometimes they kind of give us more props than who we are. I'm like, you don't understand. I've already talked to you about this. You've already heard from me about this. I'm not just having this false humility for the heck of it, and neither are you.
no.
We both know exactly we are no one. Um, and frankly, neither are these Taylor Swift issues. I mean, these idiots, right? And you've already met them, and I've met many bigwigs too, and they're frankly no ones either as well. I mean, their stink still smells real bad.
This is what it's about. This is what it's about. When you're certain of your abilities to deploy your genius or your talents in any given situation, you will always own the room.
Right.
That's it. That's the end game right there. To become certain in your abilities to deploy your genius in in any given situation, you got to know who you are. That's the identity. That's book one, the identity. Book two is financial freedom. Book three is health, wellness, and resilience, because this is your vehicle of success and leadership. 4 is information warfare, how to protect yourself, your family, and the republic against information warfare, and narrative. And number 5 is how to stay incorruptible. And once you have that under your belt, nobody impresses you, nobody can touch you. It's almost like a joke. Like, hey, why are you profiling in front of me, right? Why are you trying to be somebody? Like, who are you trying to impress here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're the same. You're just like, yeah, okay. Nice to see you that you're insecure. Great, thank you. It's like you
Yeah,
can
and I
read.
and
Once
I
you know
think
who you
that's
are, you can read everybody.
and that's kind of what happens. And I think one of the things I tell people all the time, like, and you're doing the same thing with the join tab, .us here, that you can see on the screen. To sign up, guys. It's totally worth it to peruse the site and sign up and go through the courses, but definitely worth it to peruse the site with that. And we will get into the city of London, guys. We're not missing anything. We got time to be able to do this, but it is an empowering point because I see people who are sitting there and they're sitting fallow. I will say this, as a person who's spent a lot of years playing basketball. Um, When I was growing up, I was the worst basketball player in the world. Why? Because I had dyslexia, I had coordination difficulties. I was the worst one on the team. But because I got cut all the time, I busted a gut on everything I did.
Yeah.
I played more than, because this will date me. I was grew up in the 70s and a little bit in the 80s, right? So what I did is I played harder than every inner city kid out there, right? And if I had an inkling of talent and I was more, if I was like 6'4", I'd have been college ball player, right? The problem is that other side of that. The point is that kind of tenacity I brought to everything. Um, and so some people have been laying fallow and just kind of waiting for everything to go, waiting for someone to end the Fed, someone to end the
Yeah.
IRS, someone
Yeah.
else. And I'm like, dude, you're sitting over there going, hey man, why doesn't my city get fixed? Why doesn't the road over here get fixed? Why doesn't this happen? Why doesn't this thing, and I'm going, well, guess what? Stephen right here is showing you the way. And that's why I wanted him on with it too. So, but let's just shift gears just a little bit here. And I want to kind of bring up a few bits of articles and things like that. And we'll kind of see where he kind of feels
Yeah.
about that stuff. So the first one here, do you see everything on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure your screen doesn't like freak out with that too. So there are no talks, conversations going on scheduled with I thought this is no, Trump never says anything accidentally, by the way, too.
No.
He didn't
No.
say IRG, which is totally interesting. This is what I want you guys to catch. He said the Islamic Republic of Iran, which I want you to kind of explain that one a little bit too. The naval blockade remains in effect. Strait of Hormuz, Hormuz Strait is open. He said Hormuz Strait. I think that's interesting too. All the mines are gone. Like, okay. Can you talk a little bit about this from the military standpoint, from a political standpoint? What would you say to that kind of statement?
Well, let's phrase it right. So Iran spent 40 years running a strategy of deniable pressure. Like they used proxies, checkpoints, a nuclear program that no one could inspect, and it worked because the cost was always borne by somebody else, right? Well, that changed in 2026. What changed in 2026 is the cost came home to Tehran, and Trump is the one who made that happen. It was promised by every president. The last 5 presidents were told to go to war, or where they wanted to supposed to go to war with Iran, and every single one of them said no, right? And you got to remember, within hours of the opening strikes, Iran fired on Israel, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, and Iraq. The UAE lost 2 soldiers and like 11 civilians. Kuwait lost 4 soldiers and 6 civilians. Saudi Arabia lost 2 civilians. And these were neighbors. They weren't belligerents. They weren't attacking them. So you got to ask yourself, why would they do that, right? And who ordered that, right? And then there's the so there's a theory, right? And the theory is the IRGC, the Mosaic command structure they have, right? So this decentralized command structure is purposely like that so they could have plausible deniability. Oh, we didn't know, on one side. On the other side, some people say that the city of London controls the IRGC because they're the ones who are paying for them. And that now that the regime is gone in Iran, the regime in Iran is open to playing ball.
Wow.
Now, an interesting note is Harold Lutnick's company, our Secretary of Commerce. His company owns 60% of Tether. And Tether is where all USDT goes through. And USDT is used where? In the Strait of Hormuz to pay the tolls, right? Besides
Okay,
yen.
back up and say
Yeah.
that again a little bit, because I want you to
Okay.
pause that one through
Okay.
a little bit, because that's such
Okay,
a good point.
The Strait of Hormuz has tolls when you go through there. You
Correct.
can use USDT or you can use yen, right? So, and there's another currency, probably their own. So USDT or yen, most people use USDT. That USDT goes through Tether, which is in Switzerland. 60% of that company is owned by, I forget the name of the company, from Harold Lutnick, our Secretary of
Right.
Commerce, which is in South America. His 29-year-old son's running the company now. Oh, you know what I mean? Right, because when he became secretary, he had to get rid of it. And this has been going on since 2020. So the United States has been working with Iran since 2020 in the crypto space, paying for those passages and those the tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. That's a big sign. Think about that. How's that even possible if they were under sanctions? Not to mention the European Union was buying billions of dollars of oil in the black market from Iran directly while they were in sanctions.
Right.
Right. Not only do I know that, I've seen it. Like a friend of mine is one of the families who owns one of the oil companies in Iran, and he lives in Europe. And he showed me a warehouse full of pallets of cash that they couldn't move because the European governments paid in cash so they could forego the taxes, and then they sell it back to the providers at the regular price plus taxes, and they were pocketing the difference. I mean, this is how dirty.
Funneling, laundering
Yeah,
money there. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And these are the governments and even the good governments of Northern Europe.
Sure.
And so everything that you see, that we see, that I see, that he says, that you say, that we think is going on, isn't going on.
Yeah. All the
It's not
time.
the picture. That's not the picture. You know that. Most people don't. What happens is they'll see something, they'll get triggered because anything you see is to trigger you either positively or negatively. Either you're for it or against it. That's all they want. That's all they care about. You're going to scream and yell for it, or you're going to scream and yell against it. That's all that matters, right? That's information warfare. Keep us divided, distracted, and disgruntled, and that's how they keep control. Now, that's just one aspect. If the IRGC is controlled by the City of London and the regime wants to play ball, right, and we're processing their USDT through Tether and through Howard Lutnick's company, there's something going on there. Then we look at the second factor. China and Russia were the biggest supporters of Iran this whole time.
Right.
Then the war breaks out, and what did they do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Which I find fascinating, by the way, too. Like if we got 10% of our oil from Iran. China got more than 90% of her oil from Iran. And as soon as Trump and many of the bigwigs, the CEOs from America, go to China, right? And supposedly Obama is the friend of China, right? And yet when Trump lands in China, he gets the red carpet treatment that has never ever occurred in the history of the world. And yet they had choked China out of all of their oil. Tell me that we're not seeing a movie in a 3D or 5D, let's say. Yes.
I don't know what D it is, but it isn't what people
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it
right,
is.
right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
pick
think about it. Think about it. Putin was in Alaska. They were joking around, having a good time. Remember, you
correct.
remember that meeting, right? And what happened while he was in Alaska? Russia filled up massive amounts of tanker ships and just floated them there in the sea, right? And that never happened before because they don't need it because they have enough storage, right? As soon as the war broke out, he started sending them ships down there. That was a moneymaker right there. Number one, like Trump probably said, "Hey, let's make some money,"
Correct. Yeah.
and for our countries. And if you ask me, and I've been saying this since Alaska, that Putin, Z, and Trump have a deal. Why else would Iran be the sacrificial lamb? And why else would the other two superpowers not even raise a finger? I think they raised protests like with one statement, but that was about it, just to make it look good.
Right.
Why else would that happen, right? And why did they suddenly bring in this Mosaic command, right? So we can't control the RGC. They got to keep it going. And then you see we can keep going because it's a layer upon layer upon layer. Then you have the
And
City
I'm
of London
bringing this up
controlled.
on the screen here because this
Yeah.
is what you're talking about. This is what occurred. That this is the deal that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm bringing up as you're speaking.
No,
So
it's great. It's great. It's great. You know, the biggest thing about the Strait of Hormuz is oil, it's fertilizer, and it's natural gas, right?
correct. Yeah.
So The number one exporter of natural gas in the world is America right now because of this, what's going on.
Right.
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 UAE is producing more oil than they've ever produced in the world. Why? Because they left OPEC. What happened, or put it this way, what didn't happen since they left OPEC? Since UAE left OPEC, there wasn't one drone that went to their territory at all. Zero. Since they left OPEC. And since they
Correct.
left OPEC, there's no cap on their oil production anymore. So they're full bore right now, producing more oil than ever before. And they're building that second pipeline, which should be done in about a year, right? And
So,
Iran's,
oh, sorry.
exactly. Yeah, and Iran's oil is only being exported to the east, to China. So Iran only has one client left, one customer left, and that's China. So what happens when you only have one client? You're owned. You see where I'm going with this? You understand? So
Mm,
China basically owns Iran's output. Iran is sort of between a rock and a hard place, and they're letting this Strait of Hormuz thing play out. It's good for everybody. What cannot happen is everything to stop, and everyone's going to watch what Trump's actually doing. He's dismantling the globalists. He's separating the globalists from the sovereigntists. He's trying to. And when you look, it started in Venezuela. What happened before we took Venezuela? The ships were on the coast weeks beforehand, right? What were they doing on that coast? They were listening, surveilling, observing, and taking notes. And what did they find? They found hundreds of billions of dollars of narco money that were going to the globalists all over the
correct.
world, including shipping companies from Greece, like just ridiculous things you would never guess. And then they cut it off, right? So they listened to all the people calling, "Where's my money? Where's my money?" And then they cut it off, and then they went over, and then they started Iran, and they did this, and they did that, and it's like little by little by little by little, he's cutting it off. So if we control Venezuela, we boxed in Colombia, we sent a warning shot over the bow of Mexico. Now they're sort of in check, and we own this, and now Canada is becoming a partner as well with oil. That should be coming up pretty soon. They signed with Iraq, right? And Iraq said, "Hey, bring as many companies as you want, just no troops." Like, okay, no deal. We're deal. No problem. We're out by the end of September. All troops from Iraq. $70 billion, $60 billion deal signed there, right? Saudi, Saudi is building their pipeline out. You got Turkey taking the pipeline up from Syria, from Saudi or whatever it is. This is all making the Strait of Hormuz completely irrelevant within the next 2 to 4 years. So the
Okay.
leverage
Let,
that
let
Iran
me
has will no
let
longer
me
be.
back you up here. So, because I'm gonna back you up through a couple areas. Okay. So what you basically said is that we first get into the Greenland issue, the art of the deal. Russia. Trump has an Alaska deal um, to accomplish. Um, sorry, I got to pull that off the screen. So he goes
Independence.
and he deals with Greenland. And
What's in Greenland? Rare earth minerals. That's
rare
for
earth
electronics,
minerals, but he
electronics and things like
didn't
that.
just deal with Greenland to
No,
get rare earth minerals. I will say there's several other issues. He doesn't just take care of that, but he also knows now in Greenland. So for people to understand, he makes what he does with the Dutch is that he said, guess what? I'm going to make you guys pay the rent for the rest of eternity, which
Danish.
is such a fascinating point. You're going to pay the rent for the rest of the eternity. It's like me saying, Stephen, from now on, you're going to rent an apartment for me in New York, the heart of New York City. I'm going to live there whenever I want to, and you're going to furnish it. And sucks to be you if you don't like it, right? And that's what he basically said. And they're like, yeah, where do we sign?
Yeah.
And not only that, he actually rented the airspace around and above it, right up here. You guys don't actually see, so that he could see any air-to-air missiles that might come in. That actually wasn't seen. And
We
then
had, we've had air bases there since the 50s.
right, but he didn't. But we weren't. didn't have full on access the same way that he did in this
Yeah.
particular thing.
Yeah.
Then he put out this picture. This is one of my favorite pictures in the history of the planet. I've never seen a picture, and it's one of my favorite pictures, right? And I've spent probably about 2 hours, and I did a video about this picture. Okay, now if I were now listen, I have one of my degrees that I lost because I got screwed out of this. And it's a longer story. Is my one of my degrees is in education. Okay, and now I think about this as the principal to all the teachers, and if I were thinking about like having world leaders, don't you think that the world leaders, they could find a better place to put the world leaders?
No.
um what he did is he made them sit in front of that is Franklin and Lincoln, which I don't know
Yep.
why he made them put sit there, right?
You don't know
And
why? Oh, it's obvious. He put them in their place. You are
yeah,
students and nothing more.
right,
You will
right, but
listen. You will listen, and that's it.
right, but you know, they're sitting there and not one of them are happy, including Zelensky is here, but all of the European leaders are sitting there, including the moron from Britain. Then he puts, now this isn't the exact picture. This is actually superimposed a little bit later on. He has an American flag over, and this is right before any of this actually happened. This was actually in January, before any of this occurred. He puts American flag over Venezuela, obviously America, Canada, and he puts it over Greenland. This
Is
is
this real? Or is it AI?
this he AI'd this picture.
Okay. Okay.
But this is before this actually occurred. This is, and I did a video about this actual picture. I listen. This is he put the picture out here, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't put the picture out. Okay, Trump put the picture out as a calm out to the world. So I'm pulling this exact picture the way Trump put it out there. Okay, within weeks we went and pulled Maduro out of Venezuela.
Yep.
So this is called the Monroe Doctrine. This is what I call it, a
Mhm.
Monroe Doctrine. And he's basically telling them this is the weekend after, or the week after the weekend he met with you just said
Putin.
Putin. And so and so trust me, Iran had already been known about. So
Yeah.
we had figured out all the stuff here that's going on.
Yeah.
And the city of London is already really in effect.
Hmm.
The takeover.
Yeah. And there's I have a buddy. Oh God, I get shot. I have a buddy that he was put in charge to physically go to all of the frozen Doge money locations, USAID money locations all around the world,
Oh, that'd been
and in,
fun.
and ensure. I actually have some of the data, which is incredible. And he told me about this one AIDS hospital in Africa where they said people are dying, right? And he talked to the director of the hospital, which was an American woman, and said, "Look, you're getting $30 million a year. What the heck are you doing with it now? Now that it's frozen, can you survive?" She goes, $30 million. We get $174,000 a year, and that's enough.
Right. Right.
And that's enough to run the entire hospital for a year. And he's like, "Oh, where's the rest?" She goes, "I didn't know there was any rest." You see what I'm
Oh yeah.
saying? $30 million, 174,000 was the hospital. The rest,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've
so
done some Doge in you know, influx on that one stuff too with that. Okay, so let's jump over here. So Trump puts out this one. And would you talk a little bit more about this? You know, I mean, from the City of London perspective, I know you kind of dealt with this a little bit more about
well,
U.S. territory.
he's putting his, he's what would you say? He's marking his territory, right? He's marking the territory, putting them on. He's taunting the City of London. You know, um, uh, Qatar, as you know, was hit by Iran and took out like I guess it's 19% of their natural gas production, which is also 19% of their economy
Okay.
in Oman, which made us number one in the world, right? even ahead of Australia. And this is sort of like, okay, this is what we're going to own. This is what we're going to do. Everything you hear, for instance, the USS Abraham Lincoln, and the toilets are dirty, and the guys are complaining, and they want to jump off the ship and stuff like that. That's just all to try to make it look bad, right? In the end, we're winning.
Right.
We are. There's just no other way. There's just no other way to look at it. You can't. People say, "Oh, there's no authorization for the war," right? There's 2,000 Iranian civilians dead, and there's like Iran says it's won, but has anything actually been achieved? And what's the exit plan? All these kind of things. These are all questions to make you question what's actually going on, right? But for instance, for the exit,
actually, can I throw this out at you? Yeah. Actually, Schumer admitted that I'm going to do a deep dive on this. First off, World War I, World War II were, we have Wilson and FDR that went to Congress, went to Senate, and asked for the war. Okay, so those two wars were asked for constitutionally. Okay, then we have none of the other wars were asked for. But Schumer admits that Iran was specifically asked for in private session. So when someone says this is an illegal war, they're lying. They were asked by Schumer, admits it directly. So if anyone tells you anything differently, this war was specifically asked for, but they were asked in private session, and Schumer tells you directly that it was.
I mean, and if you look at the globalist, the city of London, Iran fired intercontinental ballistic missiles at British territory, remember? And then Britain still didn't join the strikes on Iran. And then Iran shot towards Diego Garcia anyway. So first of all, they're escalating. Second of all, the Strait matters more to them than it does to America.
Sure.
America is a net energy exporter. Britain doesn't export anything as far as energy goes, right?
Right.
20% of the world's oil and a huge share of its LNG moves past a country that has now demonstrated it will fire on ships and on islands of friends if that leverage stands. Britain lives under it. We don't live under it. So they are constructing that to make sure that it sticks there, because that's a massive leverage point there. But what Trump's doing, as I clearly demonstrated before, we're building around it. We're making it irrelevant. Hell, even Iran has their own pipelines, 1,000-kilometer long pipeline that they have that goes around the strait, just in case. You can, and people say, well, yeah, you can bomb pipelines. Yeah, bomb 10 pipelines. They'll build 10 more in 20 days. They'll fix that pole that when they bombed in 2019, the Houthis bombed something in Saudi Arabia. And a pipeline, it was done in 11 days, back operational. You can't build another Strait of Hormuz. Like, there's only one. That's the only leverage point they got, right? So everybody's saying, oh, you can bomb the pipelines. Yeah, go ahead, bomb the pipeline. They'll build another one. And if you build 10 pipelines, 20 pipelines, 30 pipelines, you can't bomb them all. And if you do, they'll fix them. You can't bomb the entire pipeline, right? So it's somewhere along the way, the leverage is out. And that's coming. 2 to 4 years is what I would say.
So when we talk a little bit about, now I know we kind of gave some background here with that too. So now when we talk a little bit about, the city of London, which I know it's a huge topic here, and we won't be able to attack it fully here, but can you kind of give a little bit of a breakdown? So, I mean, again, it's not London, England necessarily. It is in essence, square mile, spot.
Corporation.
Can you give a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's corporate. Just like DC is a District of Columbia is a corporation, just like the Vatican is its own country corporation. The City of London is a square mile corporation. It has its own government, has its own police, it has its own mayor, right? Matter of fact, when you live in the City of London, you vote, but only, I think it's like a sixth of the people, the voters actually live there. The rest are employees, because the business owners, their employees get to vote. They get one vote for every 5 employees, up to 10. Then after that, it's like every 10 you get 1. And if you have a bank there, which of course that's where all the banks are, they have thousands of employees. Look who's voting, right? And what are they voting for? They're voting for their own, right? And so this is a complete beholden. They have their own police. They got everything. And they're the ones that basically have been controlling the global, money markets, the money trade, and everything for the last about 100 years. And Trump is absolutely. In the beginning, I thought, nah, this is. But when you look at the facts, and you look at what's actually happened, he's taken them out like with toothpicks, just knocking them down. Just poking them in the legs every 5 days, and something's happening here. Then it's in Venezuela, then it's in Iran, then it's in China, then it's in it's over here, it's over there. He's taking them down, man. He really is. It's exactly what's happening. It's incredible.
So in essence, every time when we're talking about, when we talk about, when we're saying like, this gorgeous picture, here, in essence, that's taking down the city of London. In essence, wouldn't
Yeah,
that?
because he's taking control of the hemisphere. This is our hemisphere now. This is a Monroe Doctrine, and then you have Russia in their hemisphere. You have China in their hemisphere. The big three. Why aren't we fighting? Because the three bigs, in my opinion, the three big powers decided. You know what? More profitable if we work together than if we fight. So let's not let these money guys pit us against each other. Because look at the two countries that are considered evil, but also they do their own thing, and that's Russia and China. They sort of do what they want, right? They sort of do their own thing. They're disconnected, they're ostracized, they're embargoed against, or whatever. And people say, "Oh, China's going to kill America because if they, economically." Like, no, 25% of China's entire economy is exports to the USA. If they stop those exports, China's done. 25%, because most of the people, most of the money is in three big cities, and the rest of China is already broke. They have water shortages, they have famines, they have the whole works in China already. They can't afford to not buy to sell American goods, so they're not going to ruin that. That would ruin their country, and and
Right.
and 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 it's just. And then Russia, of course, who has went from buying drones before the war from Iran to selling drones to Iran, has used the war, the slow grind, to rebuild their manufacturing heart. Right, so they're manufacturing again. Now you got Europe, Germany, von der Leyen, and Merz, and Macron, and the whole Mark Rutte, Zelensky. They're pushing hard for this war because it's the only thing left in Europe that can make any money, that will keep the economy afloat, and not even for long, because a war economy is taxpayers' economy. So that means the taxpayers pay to make the weapons that get sold to private economy, to private weapons companies that then sell it to governments through advisors who then take kickbacks, and the whole works. So that won't last forever either. But Germany's in a free fall. Massive debt. They got more debt than they can handle right now, and they're actually paying a third of their entire GDP just in debt servicing. The rest of Europe is shot. France is way even further gone. The UK, forget about it. And so they're in dire straits. And right now in Germany, I have a client in Germany. He has a factory, and he does headliners and carpet for BMW Expo. 38% of his net profit goes to energy. Could you imagine? That's how high the energy costs are. So, and imagine you have an apartment, and you're paying, I don't know, $1,000 rent, and you're paying $380 a month in electricity. Could you imagine? On top of that, and this is what it's. You know what they did? They tore down all the nuclear power plants, and they actually not bombed, but blew up the coal mines so that no one could use them, even if they wanted to. This is what they did in Germany. What are they doing in Holland? They're shutting every single. Holland is the largest exporter of farm grown food in Europe, and they're closing every single farm. What do you think that is?
Well, here's what I would say, and I think what you're kind of getting after too. The insurance payments that we've been paying to these morons through, I mean, to these people through the this particular territory, and others, by the way, um cost us so much money every single time we go to the pump, in
Yeah,
essence,
yeah.
throughout the world. Um, I think most people don't realize that it changes, it fundamentally changes if we didn't have this massive amount of money that we would spend every single thing on every single thing out there. We would see the prices of everything just drop dramatically, almost instantaneously, if we didn't have all this crap in the way with that.
Well, I did the math. Don't quote me because I don't remember. I don't remember. But first of all, in Texas, they've quadrupled oil output in the last 10 years. They've 7 times increased the LNG output by 7x in the last 10 years. So we're growing massively. That should make the prices go down, but it hasn't yet. Right? We're still paying for what's going on over there. But I did the math. If you if you just struck the entire military, right? That would give us 2 days of operating capital for the United States government. If you took away all federal employees and the military and the government and everything else, that would give us 32 or 28 days of operational capital. Over 60% of our debt is retirement, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever it is, disabilities, the whole works. Like it's unemployment, Social Security, all that kind of stuff. That's over 60%. Why? Because we're old. Back in the 60s, you had like 13 or 14 people for every retiree. Now it's like 3.2. And somewhere down the road, it'll be 1-to-1. And so, like, basically, when you show up to your job for the first day, they're going to say, "Hey, there's Steven. He's retired. You're paying his retirement paycheck every month." Basically, is what's going to happen. That's our issue right there. So, what he's doing right now, he has to do this right now.
It's more than that. We're realizing, I think, what we're starting to see now, and I've kind of made this comment too, quite a bit, is the IRS has been, we spend about $5 trillion. I've done some of that math too. The $5 trillion we spend through the IRS, 90% of it is all fake. That's what Doge has basically shown us with that stuff too. So
but even if Doge did do the $3 billion, it would be like a half a day. It costs $19 billion a day to run the United States government, including everything, military, the whole works, worldwide. $19 billion a day. $19 billion a day to run the government. That's just the government. It's ridiculous. And so we're in a predicament here, a big one, and we need to find a way out. And a way out for the citizens is, I always say this: you can only affect what you can touch. You can't touch Trump. You can't touch Iran. You can't touch London. None of that stuff. But what you can touch, your city council, your county commission, your school board, and there you can change a lot. You can change what's taught to your children. You can change what your property taxes are. Look, the city of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where I was born, 1982, they had 1,900 empty lots, empty buildings. And now they have less than 500. And the reason that is because they took empty lots that wasn't paying tax and basically gave it to companies that said, we'll build a building there, or we'll fix this building and we'll pay taxes on it. Of course, they get a tax break, but they don't get the tax furlough like the big companies do. Mm-hmm. So you end up making a lot more tax revenue for the city by giving away the vacant lots that were just rotting anyway, right? And so there's just so many programs. And then I think Altoona or Allentown, Pennsylvania copied them and did the same thing. And then you have the county commission, I forget where it was, Missouri or somewhere in one of the flyover states. They, instead of paying insurance companies to pay the bills at the hospital for the citizens, they paid direct at their own prices. And they saved like $24 million in 2 years for the citizens of taxpayers. This is all done locally. You and I can walk into a city council meeting and probably one of the seats will be vacant, or one of the seats in the county commission will be vacant, or the sheriff's seat's vacant, or the mayor's seat's vacant. And you walk in here and say, you know what, we're going to do this now. Yep. And people, I tried that, but I got mobbed. And people, well, deal with it. Yeah. Right? You have to deal with it. You can't run away. You have to deal with it. You can't fight them because you'll lose. You just have to stay calm, cool, collected, and cordial. Keep moving forward. Make everything public record so that you have something to fall back on when the time comes. And it's so empowering to see people saying, yeah, we're going to do this. The women in Texas, Texas Women in Action. They're all probably over 60 years old. And they're like, you know what, Stephen? We're tired of waiting for men to do something. We're doing it. And so I looked at the statistics of TAB. And in TAB, the people that take action, that order the books, that apply for seats and stuff, it's about 65% women. And then I started talking to politicians that I know and people that worked in politics. And they said, yeah, you're right. It's always the women that take the action. It's like, really? Yeah, but for some reason, all the men get the head spaces, but the head spots. But it's the women who take all the action. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I had no idea. Something interesting to know.
There's an amazing story, and I mean, I saw the video of this. That there was a school board in a Colorado town where I grew up. I mean, not that town, but there's a school board, and they didn't show where most of the school board kind of got pissed off because it was a COVID conversation, and the school board just was overwhelmed with they came in and said, we're not dealing with this mask idiot stuff. And they came in and the school board was like, we don't know what to do. And they all left and they said, we're done. We quit.
Yeah.
And so these moms were like, you be the president, you be the secretary, you be this. And they took over. And I was like, and you could see it happening all at once. And that's the same kind of thing, guys, that Stephen's talking about. But what this is a more organized kind of way of doing this. And I believe that time, that really specific time is coming, because I believe that we're going to see an absolute critical time of this. Because first off, he's talking about this, but I've talked about this. There's a critical moment in time. I mean, he mentioned 38% of the debt servicing in Germany. Well, we have, I think right now we're sitting at 20% of debt servicing in America, just with the $40 trillion. Guys, you don't understand. I mean, I've dealt with my own debt in a business, and there is a point in time when you kind of say, we can't do it anymore. And what that means is bankruptcy. And when you come to those points, and that means in the Fed, what happens is the whole system overturns.
Yep.
And that means election issues. That means all of the stuff. We're coming to that critical moment. And that means, it's a type of revolution with that too.
Yep. And it's if you talk to some people, retired generals, for instance, right? They'll tell you that there's a good chance. That's what he's telling me. There's a good chance that at the midterms there'll be some states that won't have anybody running, so they'll have to have state conventions to choose delegates because of what's going to happen between now and then. So if that's the case, I don't know. That's what he's telling me. He's convinced of it. So there's a lot going on that we don't know about. You see in trickles of it. You're seeing little cracks in the walls and stuff. But to this day, we haven't seen the big hammer hitting down yet because they can't. If you hit the hammer down here, what's going to happen around here? You have to do it all at the same time, sort of like this, slowly but surely, right? And that seems to be what Trump is doing. And I'm not saying he's a freaking genius or whatever, because he's not doing it by himself. That's for sure. My only question is this. If he's stripping away, taking the grip of the financial control of the world out of the hands of the Russian or of the Brits, what are we going to end up with? The system controlled by Americans with the tech bros on the wings of both sides? Is that better for us? Is it more control, more financial freedom? Is it no freedom at all? I mean, what are we going to have? That's the big question. Because okay, we beat the Brits, hoorah, America wins again, or whatever, right? But who's in control now? And what are they controlling? And what does that do for us in our lives? America is built on debt. Everything. Your home, your house, it's probably in debt, right? You probably took a mortgage out. You probably have credit card debt. It's all designed. It's all engineered, because then you're leverageable. Oh, you don't want to play along in COVID? All right. I was talking to a police officer one time. I saw him break somebody's nose by throwing him on the ground because they wouldn't wear a mask. And I said, what the hell is wrong with you, man? He said, Stephen, I got 3 years to my pension. If I don't do my job, they can fire me. And I have to send my kids to college. I got to pay my mortgage. So I said, so you're sort of breaking somebody's civil liberties for 40 grand a year? Seriously? And he's like, what do you mean? What else am I supposed to do? I'm a cop. That's a great picture of where most of America is standing right now.
Right.
Weaponized debt, man.
Yeah. But I will tell you guys, you have a choice in a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
And you have a choice, and that's what he's giving you with that too. So guys, I just think there's an opportunity here. So yeah, do you want to have a last
1 second?
word in here?
Book two is called Financial Freedom. It's called Financial Freedom: Legal Ways to Get Out of Debt. Grab the book. Citizen Servant Leader series on Amazon. You can grab it. And if you haven't supported us yet, please support us at jointab.us. Grab a book, grab all 5, or if you get the course, you get all 5 books plus my original book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha, per PDF version included in the course. And the course is ridiculous. So
yeah, absolutely, guys. And that's why I wanted Stephen to come on, and I'm going to definitely have Stephen come back. I would love to have him come back in here with that too. And we can definitely talk about a whole bunch more. We went on a whole bunch of different areas, and some of you guys were going, yeah, but I really wanted to have the history. And I said, you know what? We needed to set up all of this stuff because this is a big web. Think about when you're looking at a spider and you're going, why is that spider here? And then he's over here. Guess what? That spider's been crawling all over the place, and it's an invisible web. That's what Stephen's talking about here. So thanks so much. I really appreciate you coming on, man.
My pleasure. Right. It was fun. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. So guys, just have a good time. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.